how did you hone the craft of presenting and teaching? Really, is I think how I look at it. But you're so damn good at it. How take us back
Yeah,
to? I
well,
mean, is this just a? And there are natural gifts. I mean, are you? Is that? Did you have a natural gift for this type of thing? How did it come about?
wow, man. I thank you so much, first of all, for the incredibly kind words and observations. But it's interesting because hearing you just now, just the way you even formulated the question, you seemed like you were in a flow state. Like you seemed like you started off somewhere and you went on these descriptions and then eventually you brought it back and then you asked me the question, which was great. And I often tell people that what I just noticed in you is pretty much what I try to create or to deliver or really to induce in myself when I'm talking about ideas, which is to go into a flow state. You know, you're probably familiar with Stephen Kotler.
Yeah, definitely.
So he just wrote his new book, The Rise of Superman. It's all about how athletes seem to have honed in. They seem to have hacked flow, essentially. And of course, flow is connected to states of maximum, optimum human performance. So, of course, extreme sports athletes are really good at doing it. That's why they're able to push the envelope of what's possible in the sport. And, you know, these flow states have to do with, I guess, with the skill set, finding the space, the opportunity to fully express itself. After you've achieved your 10,000 hours of practice or whatever, you get to this kind of no mind state, you know, where you're kind of hyper focused, but at the same time, you're not all there. You know, you get out of your own way, so to speak. And I think for me, my sport maybe is this kind of verbal wordplay, like improvisational wordplay is
Yeah,
kind of my sparring. It's my
yeah,
freestyle skiing, you know, and in this whole search for the elusive fugue state known as flow, there's been a lot of science recently. They've done fMRI scans on freestyle rappers when they go into these flow states. And of course, freestyle rappers are literally doing stream of consciousness. They start rapping about a topic and the whole thing is an unscripted flow. And they compared those fMRI scans with the brains of a rapper doing like reciting memorized lyrics. And what they found out is that a part of the brain responsible for self-editing, I think it's the lateral prefrontal cortex, I might be wrong, but a specific part of the brain responsible for self-editing seems to go dim. So whatever it is that's in their subconscious is being served up to their frontal lobe, like that scene in the movie Limitless when the guy takes the pill for the first time and all of a sudden everything he's ever read, every half-read magazine article, every book, every TED Talk he ever sat through, everything that he never even thought he had registered to full memory gets all of a sudden served up by his subconscious to his frontal lobe, which is creating a cocktail of the necessary useful information that it needs at any given moment. So I think that's a perfect description of a flow state in rappers, in athletes, in the guy from the movie Limitless. And I think that for whatever reason, for me, it's always been words directly related to what I am thinking, words that connect to my musings and explorations at any given moment. And, you know, to go back to my childhood, my mom is a teacher, so that probably had a lot to do with it. She taught high school English literature, and she was, you know, an incredibly celebrated teacher that transformed the lives of a lot of students. So I grew up in that environment, right? And I was surrounded by her poetry books and her instruments and her sculptures. And so that was the fertile ecology of ideas that I grew up in, number one. And then in middle school, I used to often, I was actually a timid kid. I mean, I still am. I'm more of a site-specific extrovert, but by nature, I'm sort of timid and reserved, except when it comes to ideas that engage me. And then I come alive. And then I used to win, you know, the public speaking award or the creative writing award. It was always when I was engaged. If I wasn't engaged, I was actually shut down.
How early was this? This was grade
Since
school?
sixth, seventh, eighth grade, I was already like winning in like, you know, debate class or the public speaking type of stuff was what I was recognized for. But it was usually, it had to be sentences that had fire, ideas that had fire. Like it wasn't that I was lecturing about something that I had no interest in. So it wasn't really about drama class. It wasn't about remembering a monologue that didn't tickle my fancy. It was more about me digesting something that was compelling and then it coming out in remixed form using my wordplay.